What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is a story where Issei was the reincarnation of cosmic Garou. For a long time Issei Hyoudou was despised by his family, the students, all because of the lies that his brother Isaac and sister Isary said about him, saying that he was a rapist, as well as supposedly being a bad person. Everything got worse when Rias and Sona appeared in his life. Since they became interested in the Hyoudou when they felt a power that the older brown-haired boy and his sister had, to the unfortunate luck of the brown-haired boy, this one did not have any, so he is also humiliated and despised by both entourages. Over time all the threats arose, but nevertheless it was Issei who did everything. Since he showed to have great will and strength despite not having power, but all the credit went to the bastard of his older brother and his sister. The lies were more credible, and with everything he did not receive the recognition he deserved. The girls to whom he confessed rejected him cruelly for not knowing how his brother and believing in what that he told them, and the leaders were not so different from these. One day they decided to get rid of him because he was useless in their words, and they did. However, that was only the trigger for absolute evil to awaken and take revenge on everyone, since all they, and much less the brown-haired boy, knew was that he was the reincarnation of a fucking powerful individual who in his world made everyone tremble in his world and had now entered him to help him get revenge. The factions did not have it good, as the Hyoudou brothers were easily defeated by the Chaos Brigade, and that confused them, but everything went to shit even more as Drake, Tiamat and Alvian proved Issei's innocence and the truth behind the lies of both, causing them to commit the worst mistake of their lives, and everyone now regrets what they caused. But it doesn't end there. Issei killed the Chaos Brigade, and now he went through the factions killing everyone in the academy. What the fuck? But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Also, this is a translate version. You may find some mistakes, specifically in the character's gender. Issei of course is a male, but this time we have a female volley. Well, with that out, let's get into part 1. For a long time, since he was a child, Issei Hyoudou was always despised by his own family for not being like his brothers Isaac and Isary, who stood out more in everything, sports, grades and so on. But the problem is that they never let Issei stand out or have someone recognize him for it. In fact, everything he tried to achieve was taken away from him by them, but especially by Isaac. Besides these, they were the ones who mostly ruined Issei's life, as they spread thousands of false rumors that became increasingly ridiculous, from when they commented that he was a pervert and abused a 5-year-old girl, and that girl was his childhood friend Irina, to saying that he was the son of a mercenary, and that luckily they adopted him, but that he might become a murderer. And other more absurd ones, like that he was part of some experiment that the government created to kill anyone, so he is not human, but has the appearance of one. Well, one might think that people weren't stupid enough to believe it, much less without proof. The truth of the matter is that they all were really stupid. It was incredible that everyone seriously believed what that pair told people. They didn't even bother to really get to know the boy and see if it was true. His parents also believed what they told them, not all of the lies but most of them. But they didn't care, which meant that every day he was mistreated, humiliated and despised by everyone. Irina, the only person he ever had as a friend, also fell for Isaac's lies because he showed her fake photos where he allegedly was going to abuse her, causing her to be another person and tormenting him, so she told him that she never wants to see him again, that he was a despicable being. It destroyed him more to know that she was leaving the city, but that he should never show her face again, and that if she were to return, then it would only be to see Isaac and the others, that to him she was only a corpse, leaving him with a broken heart to the joy of her older brother. But it didn't stop there. The lies at first only started from his streets, but that increased to another block, and another, until all of Kuo believed completely what the two Hyoudou said. It was a complete torment for him. It seemed like there was no place that wasn't tormented. People named it in multiple ways, like Kuo's misery, Kuo's detestable, or the human phenomenon. The only place where he could isolate himself from everything was in a room which has almost nothing more than a bed, a desk, but without a chair, and a closet. Issei eventually had to learn to survive on his own. Since his parents don't even feed him, he has to go out for food so he doesn't starve to death. But no restaurant welcomes him in the slightest. They always throw him out of the restaurant and tell him, "Get out of here, you piece of trash. We don't want someone like you if you're not Isaac or Isary." That's what he heard from them, and receiving angry looks from them without having provoked them. So he had to sneak through restaurants to grab some food, either from the trash or enter undetected by the staff, in grocery stores, supermarkets, parks or shopping centers. Wherever he could go it was not very different. Everyone looks at him badly without a doubt. No one approaches him. The only times they approached him was only to physically and emotionally attack him, and he, with a lowered gaze hiding his pain and tears that threatened to fall, could only endure everything they gave him in the face. So the years went by where everything was a real nightmare for Issei. He tried to change people's perspective in the way he could, trying to help, offering himself for all kinds of activities where he could show that what they said about him was pure deception. He also cleaned at home, prepared food for his family and took charge of making sure everything was okay with the hope that things would change and he could receive the love of his parents and little by little the respect of people. However, life was a bitch to him. Nothing was of any use, since in all the activities and actions that he did for the city and the people, as well as in his neighborhood, they were always stolen by Isaac and Isary, making them believe that these were the ones who did everything for the city, causing the popularity of these to only increase, calling everyone's attention, especially from the female public. To Isaac's delight in making his parents feel proud even more for the details that according to they did it, as for the younger Hyoudou sibling, they tormented him even more. When the three of them entered the Kuo Academy where it was previously only for women, he thought that there he could at least change things there, but no, it didn't take long for the Hyoudou duo to let their lies come into action and cause everyone to now give him the same treatment that he suffers everywhere. The teachers don't help him in the slightest, and when he has to go to the infirmary to heal his wounds, they kick him out since in the opinion of the nurse, she doesn't want to take care of a damn fraud and miserable monster, this one with pain in his body just left and had to take care of the wounds on his body alone. There were also cruel moments where, for example, two girls named Murayama and Kadis had declared themselves to him, saying that they are in love with him and wanted to be his girlfriends, which made him happy and returned the shine in his eyes, believing that he would finally have the happiness he longed for, but he did not count on the fact that it was a game of them to get Isaac's attention, which they achieved during the last weeks they were together, where he gave them a necklace that he got with a little money he could have as a symbol of gratitude for having given him a chance, but when they received them when they went to their houses, they only threw them in the trash can in their houses. After one day when they were going to meet with the brown-haired boy, he saw how his girls kissed Isaac in front of him to the grace of this one, saying that he saw how he had a good time with them, but that it was a shame that they did not love him since they love him, causing Issei to cry and be heartbroken. Apparently they were just playing with him, something that hurt him with all his soul. He ran away from the place only for everyone to laugh at his misfortune in the end. Everything was worse when a certain pair of girls who are devils took an interest in the Hyoudou because they felt a power in them and wanted to know if their younger brother had it too. These being invited by the occult club, plus the members of the student council went and also Issei, thus telling them about the supernatural and the sacred gears, commenting that they also had one each, Sisk producing with the method they were reincarnated into devils. Rias reincarnated Isaac who had the Buddha gear where they had the red dragon drake, and Sona reincarnated Isary, who had the chaos karma gear, where he had the dragon queen Tiamat being sacred gears type Longinus. When they tried it with Issei, they noticed that he did not have a sacred gear, to everyone's disappointment and more pain for him himself, since even both entourages with the time that they lived together were also part of the deceptions of both brothers. So he was only tormented in very cruel ways, from beatings by a white policewoman and other members of the council, sword cuts by a blonde knight, electrocution by a fallen black-haired woman, and finally light attacks of destruction and water by a black-haired woman with glasses and a red-haired woman. Both entourages met the Hyoudou family, telling them about the same things as them and the sacred gears, so they felt proud that their children were powerful, and of course for Issei, it goes without saying that they only see him as trash from the street. Over time the events of DXD occurred, since Issei meets Rainer with the difference that instead of killing her, she was forgiven under Issei's wish, something that at first they did not care about, but Isaac intervened, saying that they should listen to him, just so that in the future, he would secretly play with her a little. The meeting with Asia and her rescue, the raiding game against Razor, the reunion with Irina and the appearance of Zenobia, with the difference that she was happier to see the four Hyoudou than her former childhood friend, the problem with Kakabiel, the appearance of the Harkaiku Valerie Lucifer, the meeting of the factions, the meeting with Loki, the rescue of Yusaka, and many more events that would come in the future. However, there was a detail: who was the one who really did all that? Very easy, it was Issei, since, although he did not have a sacred gear, he wanted to show what he was made of, even if he did not have a power, so he trained until he could overthrow his opponents with dedication and effort. However, the bastard always has to appear to ruin everything, because again, even after everything, he stole all the boy's achievements just to make him suffer more. It does not end there. Issei had fallen in love with the girls of the supernatural, so hoping again that everything would be better, he wanted to have a minimal light in his dark world, but it was not like that. The girls, whether from the entourages, other races or factions, treated him very devastatingly, saying that they would never be with such a despicable and miserable being like him, that he was a simple weakling who would never achieve anything in life, and that according to them, Isaac will give them strong children by being the Circuite, and that when he was the last man on earth and the world ended, maybe he would have a chance, but that would never happen. All in general, Rias, Akeno, Asia, Kaneko, Zenobia, Irina, Roswius, Ravel, Valerie, Kuroka, Lefei, Yasaka, Momo, Ria, Ruruko, Tsubasa, Tsubaki, Tomo, Sona, Seraphol, the girls of the Phoenix and Citri clan. Ilmenhold, Griselda, Gabriel, Penemua, Rainer, Ingvalid, Athena, Aphrodite, Freya, through the daughter of Thor, Hestia, Office, and let's say Venelana, Susaku Himejima, Graphia, Sikvaria. Laisha, but that's because they separated from their husbands in order to be with Issei, because they do not have consideration for him in the slightest, so they told them that if they were smart they would return with them, or better to be with Isaac, since he is better than what he said he was. They did not listen to him and went with him, and in the matter of Akeno's cousin, Sikvaria and Laisha did not think at first that this was what they said about him, so they along with the others, went for him to meet with him and tell him that they loved him and will be with him until they die. At first everything was going well, but a few weeks later his brother had to stick his nose where it doesn't belong, so using magic, he created fake photos where he abused many women, and he went with them before they went to see him again, and when he arrived, he only received slaps from them, saying the same words as the others. In addition to that, now they would love his brother more than him now, for being unfaithful and miserable. In this way he ended up more internally destroyed, seeing that nobody loves him just because of the stupid wrong things that were said about him. He became more and more hopeless, his light dissipated and his will broke. He was so alone and hurt that he didn't know what to do. Then the other Olympian, Egyptian, Indus mythologies, in addition to the dragon gods, decided to join together to form a great alliance to deal with a terrorist group that was stalking them, and that was the Chaos Brigade, which was wanting to destroy the alliance and conquer the human world, so that in order to have an advantage, they made an alliance with the other factions. In addition to naming his sister as the pillar of the alliance to the Securuite, who according to them, performed great deeds when they were not theirs, in addition to the fact that even the entire supernatural had believed what he said about Issei. But at one point, a day came that would be the birth of the being that would kill everyone, the day when Issei died and the monster was born. Issei was called by the leaders as well as the gods and dragon gods, only to receive a series of different attacks from each one, not killing him but severely injuring him. This happened because his brother recommended killing Issei for being useless, in addition to saying that he spread information to the Chaos Brigade about them. So once everything was ready they decided to finish him once and for all, and now being on the verge of death, they transport him far away to an old and abandoned forest. Right now, Issei's body was on the ground, motionless and bleeding out, while he had a look full of pain, sadness, depression and anger, everything he had to live through, everything he had done to try to earn the respect of just one or two people, and everything he had worked hard for what? It was always the same every day of his life. Hits. Abuse. Humiliations. Rejections. Contempt. Abuse. And suffering. All the life she has had, all she ever wanted, was love, affection, respect, happiness and above all, a life. But he was always denied, he was always refuted, he was always considered a phenomenon, a despicable being, a monster. Issei. Everyone always denied me everything I ever wanted to obtain and earn. Everyone always treated me as if I were the villain. No one believed in me in the slightest. No one wanted to see beyond the false comments about me. And even if I tried to prove it, no one wanted to listen to me or even get close. Why? Why am I always the one who suffers? Why is everyone so mean to me? I wanted to help and show that I am also worth a lot. Why can't I be happy? He said, half dead and speaking through tears. At that, a voice sounds in his head. Life didn't treat you very well either, huh? A voice was heard in his head. Issei? Who said that? Said a very confused brown-haired boy. Look inside your head, just close your eyes and concentrate. He said so that the boy would just pay attention and be in his head. When he entered, all he saw was darkness around him. He had reached his mental space where there was no one or nothing around him, while he was under a light projected like a spotlight that covers him. Issei. Here I am, where are you? He said, turning around his surroundings waiting for an answer, but nothing. Until he hears footsteps of someone walking towards him and the stranger speaks. Life isn't fair. Or is it, kid? Some are born to feast and others spend their lives in darkness, begging for leftovers. He commented while his appearance was slowly being revealed. In your case, you were denied a lot. You were denied love, respect, integrity, fairness, equality, a future, and a life. He said, now revealing the part of his torso being illuminated by the light that covered the brown-haired boy. Despite everything, you still wanted to move forward and prove your worth. You didn't want to give up, but little by little, that light of hope died with each thing that happened to you because of them, your family, the factions, the people of that disgusting city. And above all, your brothers. he said, now revealing his full appearance. He was a young, white-haired adult man standing, with a very worked physique, but at the same time not exaggerated for his taste, with a black shirt that covers his entire torso and back, but shows off his worked muscles very well, white pants that seem to be from a training uniform from some dojo, with a yellow belt, black shoes, indicating that he is a martial artist. Issei, who are you? He asked distrustfully and angry. Calm down, Brad, and listen, my name is Garou, and whether you believe it or not, you are my reincarnation. He said seriously, leaving the brown-haired boy surprised. Issei, am I your reincarnation? I asked with my eyes wide open in shock but without a doubt. Garou? That's right, and so that you know who I am, I'll tell you my story. Thus giving his account of everything he lived throughout his life, what his world was like, what it was made of until reaching his last confrontation with Saitama, where he had become what was known as the Cosmic Terror, because the god of his world gave him the power to win against anyone in his universe. As well as how he ended up being dust in the end. Issei was incredulous at what he heard. This guy was undoubtedly someone to be feared, so much so that he even leaves every being in his world like cockroaches until they are buried or embedded in the ground, not to mention the telling him about his cosmic form, the others in addition to what he can do even while in his base form, leaves him even more shocked. With only effort and dedication he managed to become the strongest of all the heroes, well, almost all of them. Garou, let me ask you something, Brad, what are you going to do? The white-haired boy asked. Issei, huh? He said, confused. Garou, I mean, what are you going to do right now? Are you going to get revenge? Are you going to be better than they are with you? Or are you just going to die? If it's the last option, then I don't understand why I had to be reincarnated as a weakling, cowardly and useless. He said seriously and irritated with a firm look, waiting for her answer. Coward, weakling, useless. Among those and many other words, they were the ones he always heard every day of his life. At first he put up with them, but now, no longer, that's over. Issei, how did you tell me? He said, looking at the white-haired man with a cold and penetrating gaze, which would make anyone afraid. Garou, seeing his gaze, just smiled at that. The boy was leaving his weakness behind now and was growing up to be able to show them that he was a problem if they messed with him. Garou, well done, boy, that's what I wanted to see from you. He said, smiling. Issei, hey, wait, what are you talking about? He asked, confused and looking away. Garou, kid, listen to me, if I'm honest with you, your look, your way of being, just like how you are now and what you lived. You remind me of myself when I was younger. Like you, I also suffered the injustices of the world. You and I, we are very similar individuals. We both worked hard to be strong, to overcome our limits, but your life is even worse than the one I had. In fact, I don't even know how I would have handled it. You remained firm in your decisions and desires, but they were all crushed by all those people who took everything from you and denied you everything. In my previous life, I didn't feel sorry for anyone who treated me in the worst possible way, but after seeing how your life was, it filled me with rage. You wanted to do a lot of good for people, but no one looked beyond all the comments toward you. That's why, boy, I want to help you. I have never done anything good for anyone in my past life. That's why even if I am a spirit, I want to do something to help someone. You, he said, crossing his head at the end of his comment. Issei listened to everything he said. He didn't know that he was also treated unfairly in his world. Although they both have different origins and stories, they share one thing in common. And that is pain along with the injustice of people. Besides that, it felt very good that someone wanted to help him for the first time. The brown-haired boy remained silent for a few moments before speaking and answered as follows. Issei, first of all, regarding your previous questions, what I choose to do. Would you really agree with what I decide, Garou-san? He said seriously, looking at the subject sharply. There was a moment of silence in his thoughts, but it was broken by the white-haired man who spoke. Garou, whatever you decide to do, I won't get in the way. After all, even though you are my reincarnation, I am not the owner of your life. What you decide to do doesn't interest me, okay, but keep one thing in mind, whatever you want to do, then I will support it. After all, that's all I can do for you, boy. He said firmly and decisively before the brown-haired boy's gaze. The protagonist was only surprised when he heard that. He expected her to refuse, but it was not like that. That only filled him with a little happiness, but now he had a goal in mind. Issei, then, Garou-san, I would like one thing for you to support me with. What I want is revenge. He said in a disturbing and angry tone, remembering all the inhabitants of the city and the factions. Garou stayed silent for a few moments and thought a bit about that subject. He had seen that hatred before, a hatred that led him to become more than just a hero hunter, a hatred that turned him into the absolute evil. When he was given another chance, he did not give importance to that question. He did not care if someone had any desire for revenge against him or someone else. But with this boy, it was different. After seeing how the course of his life was, he could not help but feel sorry for the boy, and even though he does not show it now, he took some affection for him. He did not like the idea of him taking a wrong path like he did, but as he said, he is not the owner of his life. Besides that, he was going to support him with the decisions he made. That is why he decides to speak now. Garou. With what revenge, eh? That is a very risky but beneficial decision, at least for you. Maybe it is a stupid question, but who exactly do you want to take revenge on? The martial artist asked calmly. Issei. Of everyone. Of Kuo, the supernatural. And the Hyoudou. He answered with anger in his voice. Garou. Very well, if so, I support you. Was his response to the boy's attitude. That surprised the protagonist again, who thought he was going to say something like revenge is never good, it kills the soul and poisons it, but it seems that doesn't apply here. Issei. Wait, just like that? He said a little bewildered. Garou. Just like that, brat, didn't you hear that your life is yours, that I will support you in everything, pay more attention, damn it. He said with a vein in his forehead. Issei. I'm sorry. He said a little embarrassed. Garou. Don't apologize, brat, just keep in mind one important thing regarding your decision. If you go down that path, one day you will have to face the consequences of your decisions. Although taking into account that you are going to go against everyone who hurt you, I doubt it, so listen kid, if you are going to fight, I am going to train you until you break every limit that your body has. I will even teach you the most efficient fighting techniques and styles that I have learned, so that no individual has the slightest chance of even doing something to you. Said unconcerned as the white-haired man is strict at the same time. Issei. Then I'm thankful there are no problems. Anyway, how am I supposed to get stronger? I'm dying, remember? He said, remembering that he was bleeding out while they were talking. Garou. As for that, I healed your wounds while we were talking. He said with a poker face. Issei. How? I asked, surprised. Garou. I just used one of my skills, accelerated healing, and applied it to your body so that you would not have any more wounds and could live. Garou explained. Issei. Or I see, even so, how long will this training take me? The brown-haired boy asked seriously. Garou. About that, it could be now. He said as if it were no big deal, leaving the boy bewildered. You see, let's say that while I was watching you I created an efficient training method that helps you a lot, and you can become very strong in a very short period of time, very surprising. I call it mental training through imagination. It is basically a training applied to your mental space that would be here, but with a slight difference. The time that flows when training here in your mind passes faster than it flows in the real world. You may feel that you have spent years training here, but outside only a minute or two will have passed. Another important detail. Everything you learn inside your mind along with the physical changes you experience will also be felt by your body outside your mind. Everything you learn from me you can use when you finish your training. He explained in detail the most relevant and important data about the new training for the brown-haired boy. Issei. Then it's better for me, can we start? He said, determined. Garou. Now, are you sure? Don't you want to relax for a while first and then start? I mean, I know I healed your wounds, but you just suffered a severe stab in the back from them, and well, I didn't think that. Before finishing he was interrupted by the brown-haired boy. Issei. No, I want to start now. I want to make them pay as soon as possible. I appreciate your consideration, but I really want to start now. He said in a desperate and annoyed tone. Garou closes his eyes and sighs. Garou. Fine, we'll start right away, but I warn you, this training you're going to do is more extreme and brutally painful than any other that exists in your world. I will make you push yourself beyond the limits until you feel like you can't take it anymore. Therefore, if you give up, I won't teach you anything else, nor will you receive any support from me. Is that clear? He exclaimed firmly and authoritatively. Issei. Yes, sir. He responded firmly to what was said. Garou. Don't call me sir. I'm not so old for you to call me that. Now keep this with your head held high. From here on I will be your master. I am only Garou. It's clear to you? He exclaimed again. Issei. Yes, Garou sensei. Responds respectfully to who would be his new teacher. Garou. Well then let's begin. When everything is over you will be about to take a big step towards your revenge. He said with a light smile. Issei. And for how long will we train, sensei? The boy asked his teacher. Garou. As I said before, here in your mind time passes faster than it does in the real world. 10 minutes out there are at least 10,000 years in here, so in a way we have a lot of time. He commented to his disciple's question. Issei. Then I will train 10,000 years in my mind, which outside would only be about 10 minutes, that's incredible. He said, impressed. Well, let's start. He spoke now in a serious and chilling tone. Garou. They really did a lot of damage to the boy. With time he will now be colder and without compassion. So much so that now he will not care who he faces and who he kills from what I see. But well, I cannot do anything. In the end he has to decide what to do with his life. Not me. Well, to start, give me 3,000 push-ups in a row without stopping until we reach the end, now. He ordered the brown-haired boy. The boy, without saying anything, followed the order and did the push-ups. So a good time passed for Issei inside his mind. He was not joking when he said that it felt like a long time had passed. During those mental years he has learned many techniques, skills, and has developed many of the physical aspects of his master. In the first 1,000 mental years, he managed to get immense strength. In this case, with what he experienced facing the enemies of the factions, he enhanced his strength and attack capacity. Now he could even say that if he and Serio with Regulus of Nemi or Hercules faced each other, these and others would be even worse than Tank Top Master and Metal Bat when they and the white-haired fought the first time. Developed a terrifying durability that was now capable of facing the armies of the factions along with their leaders together as well. In the 3,500 mental years, work on speed and reflexes, he was now able to even keep up with or surpass the pace of any individual from a knight to a dragon god, and his reflexes were sharpened to a point that he could detect any attack or surprise intention from any party, so that all his 5 senses were now at a level higher than that of a human being, and were superior to that of a supernatural being. In the 5,000 mental years, after running, jumping, falling and fighting against Garou until lasting like 20 whole days, he managed to obtain immense resistance that allows him to continue. In addition to being immune to pain, even if he suffers from severe injuries, he is able to continue fighting until he finishes his opponents, no matter how powerful they are or how many opponents he faces at the same time. Thanks to the fact that his master also made him fight not only with him, but with mental projections, holograms of all of them, in addition to the heroes of the hunter's world, so that he could adapt. He knows that fighting them in real life is very different from training, so unlike his master, when the time comes, he will not let his guard down. His growth rate also accelerated, this because his sensei has beaten him to the point of being almost defeated, so in the right situations this ability works in the middle of combat, so that he is able to turn things around quickly, despite his extreme injuries and exhaustion. As a bonus, he also gained enhanced adaptability as a result of his increased growth rate. In the 5,500 mental years, he also learned to use or manipulate the healing factor, the same factor that the hunter used on him to treat his wounds at first. He knew that he could not depend on his master to be his specialist doctor, so no matter what situation he can now heal on his own. In the 7,100 mental years, after completing the physical training, Garou now taught him the many techniques he learned throughout his life, as well as the techniques he learned from the heroes he fought before. First, there was the combat genius that allows him to learn countermeasures to other people's fighting styles, while making their fighting styles his own. Apart from those taught to him, he can also access the fighting styles and techniques of other opponents, simply by witnessing them once. Second was the rock-crushing flowing water fist, the martial art Garou learned from his former master Bang, who, although he didn't like to say it, described it as a calm stream that taunts opponents, only to finish off with a blow strong enough to shatter large rocks like a raging river, implying that the rock-crushing flowing water fist parallels real-life Tai Kai. It can repel its opponent's attacks, nullify them, or redirect them with twice the power. Furthermore, in a crisis, the martial art can move the body on its own. Third was abandonment, which allows him to remove all the restrictions Garou had placed on him in his mind. When removed, they increase Issei's mobility, agility, and maneuverability, as well as teaching him how to use the steel-cutting windmill fist and the rock-crushing water-flowing fist at the same time, leading him to learn the secret combination: dragon-slaying cross-fang fist. Fourth was the fighting style of many of the heroes he knew, such as the Tank Top Tackle, Tank Top Strike, Watchdog Man's moves, also other moves such as Heart Blast Release Fist, Tiger Fang True Fist, Fire Dance, Bullet Path Fist, Purgatory Abyss Fist, Lake Breaking Ice River Fist, Mountain Ridge Road Fist, Yatagarasu Ultimate Fist, Pressure Point Killing Fist, Poison Ogre Fist, Prosperity Lone Fist, and Military Martial Arts. In the 8,000 mental years, here they decided to work on the multiple forms or unleashed states that Garou transmitted to him as his reincarnation. The first form was that of Half Monster, which was unleashed in a series of fights against a team against Garou and different teams of different supernatural of upper, middle or high class, although if you prefer you can increase the level of that form to go against various supreme class beings, as well as some leaders. The second form was Monster in its first phase, which after fighting against the Dragon Kings, completes its first transformation, which allows it to finish off all the faction leaders and 3 factions by itself. In addition to learning the Calamity Monster's God-Killing Fist, along with its God-Killer Ascended Attack subtypes, it launches a powerful upward slash with one of its arms. And the other is the God-Killer Instant Attack, which launches a volley of quick punches with both hands. The third form was monster in its second phase, which is intense enough to change the wind and give enough calamities to 5 entire factions, also causing all the leaders to be forced to fight to the maximum. But in this form, it is easier for our protagonist to crush them, given the immense power that it gave off. The fourth form was monster in its third phase. This one was still far superior to the previous two. Its appearance becomes even more demonic, and its muscles grow to the point that it is several times larger than a dragon, and this also ridicules the dragon kings and some other gods from other pantheons, which unlike the other two, this one is more demonic and more robust. But it continues to lose its speed and strength. Finally, there is the last form, one that granted his sensei incredible and overwhelming power, one that made all the heroes of his sensei's world tremble before him and caused the death of the S-class heroes except Saitama, who was very strong. But if we talk about DXD, no one, not even the dragon gods and the Trixa, would have a chance to face him. Despite the fact that this form was granted to him by the god who created his master's universe, his incredible power reaches even more absurd levels while in this form, capable of fighting incredibly powerful fighters. That form was the Cosmic Terror. The reason he has it is that it turned out that some of the divine power that resided in Garou was still within his being when he died, so by having a small bit of it, he was able to take advantage of it to be able to replicate the same transformation, and thus recover the multiple original abilities he had, from nuclear attacks, gamma ray explosion, and surprisingly the Saitama mode. Lastly, he could replicate or copy the powers of multiple beings at once. Like the others, this form was given to the brown-haired boy who worked hard to use it, but Issei, when he awakened it, had many problems controlling it, so it was not very easy for him to control this transformation, since its energy flow was something out of the ordinary. However, he did not give up, and after many attempts, which could have put his life in danger, he managed to master it. In the last 10,000 mental years. To conclude the brown-haired boy's training, Garou decided to teach him a few last skills, but he would also do a final parade that would mark all the progress Issei had made. It was now decided to teach him miscellaneous skills, where he was given the habit of having a massive appetite, resistance to poison, hardened teeth, as well as carnivorous consumption. He was also mentally prepared to have an indomitable will. After a few weeks later and close to finishing, it was decided to subject his student to a mental combat, where he would face the entire supernatural in a real-looking session. It was a bit excessive, but he wanted to see the boy's progress, and also how much he held onto his will, and when he started it was shown that he has an indomitable will. With his bare hands and in his base state, he defeated 30% of the supernatural alone based on his techniques and skills, but I don't mean that he knocked them out of combat, but that at the time of fighting it was with the intention of killing. If he wanted his revenge, he knew that he couldn't be the one who made his hand tremble, so he began to make a carnage with all of them. But he had to resort to his half-monster form to give more fight to the supernatural beings, managing to defeat now 49% of them. However, the level of difficulty increased, appearing to all the leaders and some very strong dragons, so with what he had to use his second monster form, achieving even much more progress than before, overthrowing 78% of the supernatural. Then things got more intense. Now many more gods and supernatural beings were included than before, so he decides to awaken his third monster form, which gave off overwhelming power, and at an inhuman speed he manages to defeat 90% of the hostiles. Now if he was about to finish the challenge, but this time the 3 dragon gods showed up along with all the remaining gods and supernatural beings. Wanting to end this, he transformed into the Cosmic Terror, which caused an absurdly enormous pressure to be generated on them, launching himself into the attack and sweeping the floor with them. He had eliminated the supernatural completely. He obtained 100% absolute eradication. When the test ended, Issei could still be seen returning to normal, tired and exhausted from everything he fought, but able to continue standing and fighting. Garou was impressed with everything he has seen in this period of time. He saw how this boy managed to follow in his footsteps with his dedication and his own effort. The truth is that few are able to reach him apart from Saitama, but he did it. Now he had become the strongest being in his universe, and he had sworn to take revenge on all those who treated him badly. The white-haired man approached his disciple, and when he was close, the brown-haired man looked at him and spoke to him. Issei. Well, sensei, how did it go? He said, taking a deep breath. Garou. Kid. You really did well, really. It's impressive. You really managed to get very far. You showed to have a titanium will to not give up and continue with this training session that would make any subject want to quit, but you didn't. That and your thirst for revenge were the driving force of your desire to continue. Normally I never say this to anyone, but I'm proud of you. He said, smiling and acknowledging all the hard work of the brown-haired boy. Issei opened his eyes at that comment from his teacher. During the time he was living with Garou in his mind, he could say that they developed a kind of father and son relationship. He knew that his sensei was someone with a strict and rude character, as well as disinterested. He had never said anything to him that was not in a respectable tone and recognizing his authority. Although he would have liked him to be a little more open, he would say that as time passed both the white-haired and he were deepening their relationship as teacher and student a lot, although Garou did not express many affectionate comments, or was very expressive enough to say that he loves you, as if you were his son or brother, whatever, but he did not care. Unlike everyone, he never left him, never treated him badly, or at least not at the same level as others in the real world. He was always by his side, and that was something he longed for most, to have at least someone who was by his side. The boy, just by saying the words "I'm proud," could not take it anymore and stood to cry, but I try not to do so as not to show his weakness to his teacher. Garou, noticing what was happening to him, asked him. Garou, hey kid, what's wrong? Why are you whining? I asked, trying to get him to look me straight in the eyes, but the boy decided to speak. Issei, it's just that. It's the first time in my life that someone tells me, I'm proud of you. No one has ever told me that before. No one recognized what I did. And for someone to tell me that makes me very happy. He said, wanting not to cry anymore and staying strong, but it was useless. Tears kept coming out of his eyes. He was so happy that he couldn't help it. But, forgive me, sensei. I tried not to cry or show weakness, but he couldn't finish because something happened that he didn't expect. The brown-haired boy opened his eyes when he felt something surrounding his body. It was something that made him feel good, something he had never experienced, but he felt even happier. He turned his gaze slightly, only to see his sensei giving him a hug that sought to relieve him. Garou, kid. No. Issei, listen to me well. It is not bad for a man to shed tears when he does not feel well, when he is happy, or when he is accompanied by someone else. Everyone has the right to vent, whatever the reason. I know that until during all this training, I have been very demanding with you, but among all that I never said that you were not allowed to cry or feel bad. I know that I am not a person who is interested in the problems of others really, but if you need someone to listen to you, then I will do it, not because you are only my disciple or my reincarnation, but because for a long time I considered you as my little brother, as well as a friend. I know that I have never told you, and it may be surprising, but it is the truth, Issei. I have considered you as my younger brother, one that I plan to be by your side even if I am dead already. He said with a sincere smile marked for the first time on him. If you want to cry, do it, I will not stop you. He answered even though he was hugging the boy. Issei felt as if his entire world had been freed from a great weight on it. The words of his sensei and now older brother only caused more tears to come out of him. His happiness was so much that it could not be described with words or how to express it now. Years of contempt and hatred from all the people on both sides. So much so that he could never obtain the feeling of being loved by a single person in his world. He could never have friends, a real lover or a family bond with any of his relatives, all due to how ignorant everyone was with him. But now he felt like he was in true heaven, after having obtained the comfort of a person who truly supports him and is by his side. He could not ask for more in this world than that. Issei. Thank you. Thank you really, Garou. Thank you for being by my side. He said between tears, letting out everything inside him as much as he could, while he was still in his arms and buried his face in the Alvin's shoulder. Garou would usually be upset when his clothes were stained, but on this occasion he let it go, especially when he saw that his brother was taking out everything he had stored. Once finished, they looked at each other while the boy wiped away his tears. Garou, are you done? He asked calmly. Issei. Yes. Was his answer to his brother's question. Garou. Well, with this. Issei, your training is complete. I have nothing more to teach you, so you are ready to carry out your revenge. He said, returning to his serious attitude. Issei. Wow, okay, but what will happen to you? He asked, worried about not getting back to his brother. Garou. Don't worry about me, honestly, you'll be my reincarnation, but I don't plan on going anywhere, so I'll be here when needed. The boy said with a smile. Issei. I see, thank you very much. He expressed his gratitude. Garou. Okay, enough of the sentimentality, go there and do what you want to do, after all, that's what you wanted, right? Exclaimed Garou. Issei. Yes, I will do it, wish me luck, Garou. He said as he prepares to go to the real world. Garou. Anyway, I'll be waiting for you here, have fun, Issei. He said to turn around and say goodbye. By then the boy was leaving his mental space and returning to the real world. Issei had at one point opened his eyes and looked at his body, only to see it look very different now. He had muscles equal to Garou's. His wounds caused by the attacks had actually healed, in addition to noticing that some of his hair had white streaks, but he still had the same clothes he was always wearing. He gets up and sees that he was still in the same forest where he was sent. He looked at the time on his watch and was surprised. Only 10 minutes had passed since he was in his mind. It really was the big difference there was between the time he was in his mental space and in the real world. Issei. I wonder if. He said, approaching a tree to give a tremendous blow towards it, destroying the tree completely. I knew it, my strength and my skills are with me, most likely in my forms too, along with the techniques that Garou-chan taught me. He said, looking at his fist attentively until. Well, what do we have here? A very appetizing human from what I see. Said a voice unknown to the boy, who was a stray devil. That's what I see, and he doesn't look too bad, he's very muscular, and if not we'll take them to a more private place. Said lustfully the other stray devil, who also appeared next to her partner. 3. Well, he is handsome, but I'm even hungrier right now. Let's eat him and then you can find someone you want to have some fun with him. Said the third stray devil, relaxed. Before anyone else could say anything, they heard the brown-haired boy laugh. Devil 1. And what are you laughing at? He asked, confused by the boy's attitude. Issei. It's that, do you really think that will happen, that you're going to eat me? What a funny joke. He said, unable to hold back his laughter to the annoyance of the others. Devil 3. You really think you're not human? You better shut up and die. He said, launching himself to kill him, but. It was the sound of a punch nailed into the face of the stray devil that ended up going through his skull, killing everything in an instant, and only the brown-haired man with white locks was seen standing as if nothing had happened, with his fist and arm covered in blood, while the corpse of the devil hung from his arm. The other devils, seeing that, were just shocked, seeing how the boy killed their partner very easily, something they didn't like. Devil 1. Damn human, we're going to kill you. He said, launching himself towards him, as did his partner. But that was a mistake. With a few quick movements he dodges them as if it were nothing, and a shower of blows falls on them, breaking all their bones, tearing their muscles, and in a final movement he kills the devil by piercing its heart with one blow, causing it to die and fall to the ground. The last devil was terrified at what she saw. This boy killed them all in an instant like cockroaches, and it seems that he wasn't even really trying, and when he looked at her, he caused her to fall to the ground and back away in fear, but she crashed into a tree and stood there frozen, while the boy approached her with a terrifying aura. Devil 2. No. Don't come near me. Get away. Who the hell are you? The devil asked, terrified. Issei. Who am I? Haha, well. Before I was just someone they called their whole life as useless, a bastard, a monster, but you know something, if a monster is what they think I am, then I will be it. I will be that monster that stalks them wherever they go. I will be the one who will erase the supernatural from the face of the earth, just like those humans who treated me worse than trash. I am. Issei. The human monster. He said with an evil smile and a terrifying look for the devil, and she became more terrified when she saw what was going to attack her. Devil 2. Mercy. He said, also crying from fear. Issei. I don't know that word anymore. Was her only response to give the last blow that caused her throat to go through and her arm to destroy the wood of the tree that was behind her. Once he had finished with everyone, he looked around to see the mess that was in the forest, decorated with the corpses of the destroyed devils. Before continuing, he heard a voice in his mind. Garou. I see you had a little fun, didn't you? The martial artist spoke from his brother's mind. Issei. Heh, well, something like that, in any case they asked for it. He said with a bit of grace at first, and changed his tone to a serious and cold one at the end. Garou. Well, in any case, you should go and tell me, will you begin your revenge? The white-haired man asked. Issei. What do you think? I answered seriously but also smiling. Garou. Okay, then I support you, let's just hope and in the future the consequences of your actions are not so great. He responded calmly to his little brother's statement. Thus Issei left the forest, where it would now be revealed that that night in which he was abandoned to his fate definitively, Issei Hyoudou died, and from his ashes, Issei the human monster was born. Time skipped 4 months. It had been 4 months since Issei's supposed death. At first things seemed to be going well, but they weren't. For some time now the Chaos Brigade has attacked the factions without any problem, leaving the alliance greatly weakened, destroying their cities and safe zones. They thought that by sending the bearers of Drag and Tiamat they would achieve victory, but to the surprise and confusion of many, they were defeated in an instant. What forced them to retreat back to their factions? I don't understand how it was possible that they surpassed them as if nothing, in addition to the fact that even with the help of the dragon gods, their enemies had created methods to confront them without problems. What was most worrying was that many supernatural beings around the world were constantly disappearing. It was something disturbing. Whether they were strays it was fine, but many of those who were allied to their factions also disappeared, in addition to humans who were linked to them. When they found them they only saw that what was done to them was a massacre. Some were worse than others. It seemed like they were being married, since they did not know anything about the identity or whereabouts of the one who committed these actions. They had named him the supernatural hunter. The situation was desperate for the alliance. They did not know what to do. They decided to hold a meeting with the leaders and gods to discuss the issue, but they could not believe that it would be there where 3 sealed dragons had prepared everything they needed to reveal the truth of Isaac and his sister's lies, but with the help of the white dragon. Right now the leaders are discussing the problems they had in mind. Surziches. Well, I guess you already know why we are here, he said, putting his hands on the table. Michael. Yes, especially everything we've been through so far with the Chaos Brigade, added to the multiple murders of supernatural beings from around the world and humans who are related to us, said the Archangel seriously. Azazel. What I don't understand is how we are defeated so easily. They have measures that can face the dragon gods, and the bearers of Drag and Tiamat are easily defeated, he said, frustrated when he saw how things were developing. Isaac. They were just lucky, none of them can stand up to me, he said with an air of grandeur. Rias. But why they defeat you so easily is what I don't understand either, and I'm not sure it's just by pure luck, she said, a little worried. Isaka. Whatever it is, we have to do something. We can't continue like this. We have to come up with a solution, since nothing we do is having any effect, he said, rubbing his head with his hands. Auden. Even so, we have no advantage against them, and what that hunter has been doing is very worrying. Many supernatural beings have died because of him. Every time we find one they inform us that they found other bodies of our allies. I don't know who this guy is, who or what it is that attacks them, but he is undoubtedly hunting us, said the father of all a little seriously. Zeus. And it's literally everywhere in the world. It's every continent and place on earth. Whoever this guy is, it seems we have a third enemy to face, the Greek god commented. Seraphol. I don't know who he is, but he's definitely a problem. Why don't we send Isaac and Isary along with the rest of the DXD team to look for him? I don't think he'll be that much of a problem for them, suggested the Mao. Isary. It's true that if we look for him we'll have one less problem to worry about, she said confidently. Tiamat. Okay, I've had enough of this from you and that stupid brother of yours, said the Dragon Queen, no longer able to bear it as the sacred gear manifested. Greg. I agree, they've already got me up to here with this, said now the Welsh dragon, who also manifested on Isaac's arm. Everyone was bewildered upon hearing the words of the 2 dragons. Hannon. Drag, what's wrong with you? Why do you say that? Asked the Dragon King, not understanding the red dragon's behavior. Drag. What's wrong with me? I'm pissed off at this useless man for everything he's done, and even more so for the kind of person he is. He's nothing more than a despicable being, said the dragon angrily. Rainer. Hey, what's wrong with you? Isaac is the best man here, don't talk nonsense, the Fall answered angrily. Albion. Shut up, I'm not going to listen to any more nonsense or applause from that idiot or from this thing that I have as a carrier, both are frauds, the dragon demanded. Valerie. You too, Albion, she said, surprised and as upset as Valerie was. Gabriel. Take back what you said now, exclaims the Archangel. Greg. We have already endured too much of these two's lies, and now we will reveal their whole truth, the dragon said firmly, leaving both brown-haired men nervous about what he said. Auden. Lies. What lies was he talking about? The god asked, confused. Greg, Tiamat, Albion. About the lies they told about their achievements and about Issei Hyoudou, they said in unison, leaving the place in silence. In the city of Kuo. You see a lot of people being fine as they hadn't seen the bastard for a while and couldn't ask for anything better than that. Now we focus on the academy where you can see the comm students, but we concentrate on a duo of girls who played badly with the brown-haired boy. Those girls were Murayama and Caddis. Murayama. Hey Caddis, haven't you seen Isaac-kun? She asked, looking at her friend. Caddis. I haven't seen him for a while, I hope to see him. The truth is I have something special in mind for him when I see him, something that will mark a step beyond our relationship, she said in a happy and flirtatious tone. Murayama. Hey, but that idea was mine, she said, complaining to her friend. Caddis. Well, if you're not in a hurry, maybe. He couldn't finish as he heard the academy's screens ringing, and the audio systems were also the same. But it was not only happening here, but throughout the city, all the televisions, screens, computers, radios, tablets, telephones, all means of communication in the city, which left everyone confused and put the city authorities on alert. At one point you can see someone wearing a black hood whose face was not visible, and who had what looked like a microphone to distort the person's voice. Testing, do you hear me? Okay, now first of all my apologies if we interrupted your transmission at the last minute, but the truth is that before you think wrongly of me, I'm not a bad guy actually, I'm not a terrorist or anything like that, so you can calm down, you'll wonder who I am, but the truth is that I'm nobody, or you can call me Mr. Nobody, but it doesn't matter," said the stranger in the transmission, leaving many with suspicions. "Well, let's say there is a reason why I am making this transmission, and it is for nothing more than one thing," he said with a chilling pause while the exporters just awaited his response. The same thing happened to the students and teachers of the academy who were listening to the live broadcast in the city. And it is to reveal the truth of Isaac and Issei Hyoudu's lies and prove Issei Hyoudu's innocence of the false accusations and comments towards him, he said live, causing the entire city to be silent due to the comment made by the unknown person. Returning to the factions. Everyone was still silent at what the three dragons had said, and of course the complaints and more were not long in coming. "Zenobia. What the hell are you talking about? What does that useless guy have to do with all this?" she said angrily for mentioning the brown-haired boy she treated badly. "Rias. It's true, he's just a nobody, someone unimportant and without any value in the slightest," she said, disagreeing with the dragons. "The Keno. Don't mention him, he's just I don't even think he's achieved everything that Isaac-kun managed to do on his own," she said, annoyed. "The office. Don't forget that both are pillars of the alliance," he also said, defending both Hyoudu siblings. This and many other comments were said about that boy that they hate more than anything, because it was ridiculous that they defended a garbage that never did anything right. Greg. "Well, let me tell you, stupid brat, and you too, dragon goddess, that you are wrong, since we have proof of everything that these two did, in addition to proving that the boy was never what you believed of what these two said," they said, still firm before his words, leaving the brunette nervous about what he said that he had proof. "Tiamat. On my part too, since I will also reveal the truth of every lie that my bearer told about him," said the dragon now, making the brunette even more nervous. "Brah. Let's see, what are these tests you speak of?" said the Egyptian god in a challenging tone, confident that it was nothing more than mere words. "Albion. What we will do is project the memories of those two, so that they see with their own eyes the supposed heroes they have here and reveal that it was Issei who has done everything for others, and you believed idiots like them. I will also show their memories, since they both shared their memories with me," explained the white dragon, ready for action. "Greg. You do me the honors," he said, offering to do the action to the dragon queen. "Tiamat. How about those two at the same time?" she said in a now polite tone. "Isaac. No, he said, trying to stop them. "Isary. Don't even think about it," she exclaims. "Greg, Tiamat, Albion." Too late. They both said while a holographic projection was transmitted in the room, but what they didn't know is that it was not only transmitted in the meeting, but in all the factions. In Kuo. Just like in the supernatural, there were complaints, boos and offensive comments towards what Nobody said about Isaac and Isary, but especially towards the comment that according to what he said, Issei the human phenomenon is innocent. "Citizen 1. Don't say stupid things," shouted one of the citizens. "Citizen 1. What's that disgusting idiot going to take for acting an innocent?" shouted one of the citizens. "Citizen 2. Lies, that's what you say, Isaac and Isary are the best, not that fucker," said the man, defending himself uselessly. At the academy it was the same as in the city, a lot of shouting and complaining from everyone not believing anything he said, except the last thing he said, so they tried to turn off the televisions and phones, but for some reason they wouldn't turn off. "Well, unfortunately for you it is the pure truth, and since you don't believe me, I think it would be best for you to see it for yourselves, and see who you should have supported and who you shouldn't, so enjoy the show. And a warning, everything you see in this video is real, all based on the true words of those two brats, and without further ado, enjoy the show." He said to project the video where all the truth, the lies of both came to light. On both sides. Each one had a projected version of what the two brown-haired boys really did to their brother, only one of them did not show the supernatural, but the other revealed the achievements that Issei made in the supernatural. I reveal everything to them, absolutely everything, from the details and good deeds that he tried to show for others, the details that he did to his family, that at no time had Issei committed any bad deed that hurt or harmed others. It was also revealed that what they thought of the people, of the leaders, of the supposed friends they have, and of the women who are madly in love with Isaac, in addition to revealing that they never did anything, it was not them who helped the people of the city. The moment where he was with the girls of the academy and how good he was, and how he ended up being betrayed by them, after wanting to be with the older brown-haired boy, nor were the rumors they spread everywhere true, all that just to harm Issei. On the side of the projection that occurred in the supernatural, the same thing was also revealed, but it was also seen how Issei was the one who made the nice details for the girls to be able to be by their side, how he defeated his enemies even without a sacred gear or a power, the one who said that he would give everything to protect them. In addition to the ideas that these two had about making people believe lies, to finally see how they were so stupid that they ended up betraying and stabbing him in the back for believing in some false evidence that Isaac along with Isary made to kill Issei. When it was over, there was no noise, no one said anything about it when they saw everything that was in the two projections. The surprise was so much that they could not get over it. Everything they believed about them, all the achievements, the decorations, gestures, the actions for the city and the community, it was a lie. A cruel and big lie. Not only did they see their faces, but for years they tormented a young man who was innocent of any guilt or injustice towards him. They let themselves be fooled by two people who never mattered to others in the slightest, two people who obtained everything based on lies and deception, two people who on the outside look successful, beautiful and outstanding, but on the inside are the opposite of everything they saw. In Kuo, the city and the entire academy did not know of his shock. It was incredible and unimaginable to think that those two boys were frauds and complete liars. The men and women remembered everything they did to Issei, everything he received from them, all hatred from him, one that did not deserve to have it. This only caused them to feel like complete idiots and cry. Now it was clear to everyone that the real person who helped the city was not Isaac and Isary, but Issei. That left them all very bad, knowing that they gave them more reason than the boy. The city was now in very bad shape. At the academy it was no different. Teachers and students could not get out of the impression and the impact that all this caused them. Both boys were admired by everyone, many wanted to be friends or a couple of them, but after this, all their impression of them went away like dust in the wind. They never thought that they were so false that they would make it seem that the price of a Bolivar now had a lot of value. The girls, seeing what Isaac thought of them, ended up with a broken heart. They never always wanted to be with him, but after seeing his true face, they were now devastated, as well as many of the teachers. The same thing happened with the men of the academy who were in love with Isary, who admired her. There was even a fan club, but that was broken just by seeing this. But without a doubt everyone was now even worse after remembering how they treated Issei. He never did anything bad to them, he never thought anything bad of them, and he never hated them even with what they did to him. That only caused everyone in the academy to feel like the worst scum in Japan, and if they gave a title to students and teachers, they would be named the worst generation of the year. But two girls there were devastated after seeing and hearing all this, Murayama and Caddis. They couldn't believe everything Isaac thought of them. He never loved them. That made them remember Issei, how he treated them like his true girlfriends, how he expressed his feelings and the gift he gave them both. But the most devastating thing was when they changed him and tricked him into wanting to be with Isaac. That caused them to fall to their knees and start crying. Murayama. Issei. No. 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 What did he do? No. No. For God's sake. No. The brunette said, whimpering, unable to control herself. Caddis. Issei. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What did I do to you? I was stupid. The pink-haired girl also said, shaking her head in a sign of loss of control. So everyone from Kuo Academy also started crying for what they had done. Everyone felt guilty for everything that happened to Issei because of them, all the harm he has received from Kuo. Many, even in the live broadcast, went to look for him from every corner, alley or corner that was present, but he was not there. People and authorities were looking for him everywhere and only wondered, where is he? But the factions. Just like in the city, they couldn't get out of everything they saw. That boy is actually the true hero of their factions. The one they mistreated was the one who was their savior. That boy they despised quite a bit was the one who gave the kind gestures towards the others. That boy was the one who defeated his enemies, even if he didn't have a sacred gear or a power, and who now died at their hands. The Hyoudou parents were shocked by this. They had been deceived in front of their own noses, and they treated one of their children in the worst way, who should have given him love, affection, and provided good times with him by his side, but it was not like that. They believed everything their other children told them, all because they were more remarkable than Issei, and that was one of the worst mistakes they can make, comparing one of your children with another or with others. The second is leaving him to his fate and more on the streets. The third is not being interested in his tastes and needs, and the last worst mistake they have now made. Denying him a life. Both were now devastated by all the stupid decisions they both made against their own son. They both began to cry, and Mike fell to his knees as he tried to remember something about Issei, but nothing. They knew absolutely nothing other than from his birth to the moments in which he mistreated him, which left her worse. Vicky. My son. My baby. My little angel. What did I do? She said between tears and was very devastated. The girls, well, saying bad is an understatement. They were destroyed. They always thought that Isaac was the one who gave all those details and gestures towards them, but no, it was Issei. But after hearing the words he said about them, besides saying that he never loved them and that he hoped to be able to treat them as his sexual objects, it was something that still tore them apart. That boy who they thought would be the love of their life was only a jerk, idiot and arrogant, someone like everyone else who saw them with lust and desire. Gabriel looked at Isaac's heart for the first time, and now he verified it. If his heart was not pure and good as he claimed, it was black and cursed like the night. Which caused her to cry more when she saw that everything about him was a lie, in addition to becoming even meaner for how he treated Issei. The others were not different from her at all. Now they all realized that the real man who could love them was Issei, and not that fraud. The leaders couldn't even get something out of their mouths. Every word they tried to say died in their mouths. Were they really that idiots? Yes, they were. They really were garbage leaders, and more so believing that boy, instead of making a difference with the boy. These were miserable people who also contributed to the boy's suffering. One who was not to blame for absolutely anything of what he was rumored. The truth is, their actions make the world leaders look like more decent people, and at least more ethical unlike them. Then the Hindu gods get up from their seats and leave through a magic circle with an angry face. The Olympians, Egyptians did the same, as well as Great Red, leaving office alone with the rest, while the others were still in their seats or places without moving a finger. All they did was look at both brunettes with immense rage, while they were only scared of what was to come. Isaac. Why? Wait, we can talk about this, okay? He said, sweating just like his sister. Rias. You bastard. I thought that me. She said with a tone combined with anger and sadness while her aura grew more. Bekeno. I trusted and believed in you. And all that was just a lie. She said the same as her friend who raised her aura. Zenobia. I offered my love to you. But you never cared about me at all. She said, crying without stopping and boiling with fury towards Isaac. Seraphol. No. Why did you do all that? I didn't. Said the Mau, shaking her head while crying. Mickey. You and she were supposed to be my children. Your father and I gave you everything, only to know that you never cared about us. Everything you supposedly did for us was never you. But Issei. And now. Because of you. He's gone, because of your damn fault. She said, looking at them both with hatred as well as her husband. Auden. I think I better leave, you will come too. He said, looking at Freya, Thrud and Roswius. Roswius. Boo. But Auden-sama. She couldn't finish when the god of thunder interrupted her. Thor. Let's go. Many things happened today that no one expected to see, and we have to think about everything that happened because of our actions. Said the god of thunder seriously. The others did the same and went to their houses and corresponding factions. The girls wanted to refuse because they wanted to make both pay for what they did. They both provoked them, but they told them to leave and that they will do it later. Without further ado, they just left very angry and sad for everything that has happened. When the Hyoudou returned, they saw their house that was completely destroyed everywhere. The walls had graffiti painted and comments that said, "Damn Hyoudou, fucking liars, you are the worst of Kuo, Isaac and Isary are expelled, Garou and Mike Hyoudou are fired, nobody wants to see you ever, you are a total fraud," among other things. When they entered, they also saw the entire interior totally destroyed, torn furniture, broken electronic devices, gadgets and other useless things, and some rooms seemed to have been burned. Garou? But what happened here? He asked himself, bewildered to see his home destroyed. This was the fault of the other inhabitants of the city. Said the voice of nobody who was sitting quietly in a barely intact armchair. Garou. Commented the unknown man. Mickey. Who are you and what are you doing in our house? She said in an annoyed tone, thinking that he was the one who did it. Well. Surely you must know me well, or not, Mike, or should I say. He said while removing his hood. They saw a much older man who looked like Garou, leaving them all surprised. Daughter-in-law. He said in a not very pleasant tone. Garou. Dad, what are you doing here? He asked when he saw his father, and he was frighteningly calm. Grandpa Hyoudou. Well, I simply came here for two things. One was to reveal the truth of your lies to the entire city, and two, that from here on, you are no longer Hyoudous, you are no longer part of our family. Said the old man angrily, leaving the four shocked by what he said. Mickey. What? I commented, bewildered. Grandpa Hyoudou. Just as you heard it, you committed the biggest stupidity by doing so many atrocities to my grandson, especially those two failed abortions. He pointed at both Hyoudous. Also with some help from those two dragons, let's just say that I revealed part of the truth about Issei's innocence, omitting the supernatural of course. He explained, leaving them even more shocked by the old man's words. Isaac. You knew about the supernatural and you lizard, why the hell did you do that? He exclaims with great annoyance. Isary. And you told the whole city everything that we? Said the brunette who barely came out of her shock. Greg. If so, with our help Mr. Hyoudou was able to make a video and even audio, where he broadcast it to all the media in the city. Of course it wasn't easy, but in the end he did it. As for your idiotic question, he did it out of justice for the boy. So much for what happened because of you. It makes me sick that you are my carrier," said the dragon angrily. "Grandpa Hyoudou. Drake and Tiamat told me everything they did to my grandson when they communicated with me telepathically. I was surprised that the supernatural existed, but I was more surprised when they showed me everything they did to him and the actions they took towards him. Without a doubt, Garou, if your mother were here, she would be totally disappointed. The same would be with your parents, Mike. They do not deserve to be called father and mother as such. That is why I took matters into my own hands and set out to employ a plan to sneak into the media and networks of Kuo to be able to transmit all the evidence that Issei was innocent and well. The city as such took it very badly, so they went to his house and he became what you see now." The old man tells about the plan he had with the sealed dragons and pointing with a funny expression at the houses all destroyed. "It saddens me not to have been able to do something in time for my boy, so the least I could do was this, and as I said, you stop being hiatus from now on, so you are no longer family but rather simple strangers. I suggest you find a hotel to spend the night, but the way things are, I don't think you are welcome," he said to leave the quiet place, but then an idiot speaks. "Isaac. You can't do that to us, you can't take us out of the family, and much less go with yours after what you caused. I'm going to kill you," he said, trying to take out the booster gear, but nothing happened. "What, Drake, why don't you come out?" he said, confused, looking at his arm. "Drake. You will never use me again in your miserable life. Even if you are in danger, I will not do it," said the dragon coldly to his carrier to his anger. "Tiamat. The same will be with you. I will not give you anything, not even the slightest bit of support from me, not even if you beg me." She spoke seriously to her bear. "Nikki. But, father-in-law, there must be a..." Before saying anything she was interrupted. "Grandpa Hyoudou. Don't call me that, you and that idiot are no longer my family, much less those two. The only Hyoudou I ever had was Issei. May some god forgive them because I'm leaving the city, so I never want to see their faces again." With an angry tone he leaves the former Hyoudou to their fate, without family, without home, without work, without anything. What they didn't realize was that in the distance a brown-haired boy with white locks heard everything and was glad that there was at least someone else to support him, a little upset because he didn't do it before, but he knew that they never said anything to his grandfather. "Issei. Wow, I didn't know you did that for my grandfather, thanks for that. Maybe when this is over I'll see you in Tokyo," he said seriously but with a slight smile and disappearing from the place, leaving his old home. Time skipped 7 months later. After everything revealed by Issei's grandfather and the sealed dragons, 3 months had passed later, and everything was an absolute disaster, both for the factions and the former Hyoudou, as well as for the academy and the entire city. To begin with, the city was in trouble. More than 98% of the people were fired from various positions, jobs and employment because the highest authorities above them also found out about everything they had done to Issei and accused them of physical and psychological assault on a minor constantly, and many other lawsuits against them for what they had done to Issei. As a result, many lost their jobs and without any severance pay for them, because according to them, just as they never gave the boy a first and second chance at anything, because they would not do it either, several companies were even closed since the work staff was also involved in all the bad actions against the boy. The authorities are the few that remain search heaven, sea and earth to find out something about Issei and reintegrate him into the city, in addition to giving them compensation for all the evil they had put him through, both in his former family and in the academy, as well as the rest of the city. They knew that possibly and he rejected it, knowing that he wanted nothing to do with Kuo and the citizens, but it was the least they wanted to do for him and give him the opportunity to have a life like he deserves. At the academy, all the educational staff, teachers, the nurse and the director had also lost their jobs, and under the power of the education committee, in the words of the committee, the very prestigious Kuo Academy is closed and shut down forever, and as for all the staff made up of the academy, they are absolutely denied the right to work in any other educational institute beyond the city and in any other academy registered here, which are not many really. The parents of the students did not come out well from this either, since they were also fired from their jobs due to the problem their children had with Issei, so all the parents of all the students were more than angry with their children. They were boiling with anger. Many had different results. 80% of former students were kicked out of their homes and left to their fate because, in the words of their parents, they ruined and destroyed everything they had achieved with hard work, they said. Besides that, they are a shame and a disgrace to their families. This caused them to be left in the cold and dark streets of the city, and 20% were punished in the harshest and most demanding ways anyone can imagine. Of course, they could not throw them out into the streets and leave them to their fate, since some did not want to go to such extremes. But they assured them that they would give them the greatest punishment they could give, and that it would mark them for life. Murayama and Cadis were not at all lucky, since they were thrown out into the streets by their parents' decision and abandoned to their fate, not only for severely harming Issei, but also for their decisions that made them lose their jobs and everything they had fought for. They were also told that they did not want daughters as inhuman as them. For having played with the feelings of a young man who could truly love them and that they should never come back. To finish, they took all the things they had in their rooms and threw them in the trash. That only caused them to be devastated and very sad. They went to the dumpsters desperately looking for something, and after a while they found it. They were the necklaces that Issei had given them when they were couples. It was the only thing they had. Now they had to take care of themselves alone, and now they were only looking for Issei to be able to ask him for forgiveness for the pain they had caused him and see if they can give him a new chance. Murayama, Cadis. Issei. Sniff. Please forgive us. Sniff. Where are you? They both said with deep sadness and pain in their hearts. The former Hyoudou, Mike and Garou weren't doing well either. They had lost their jobs and all their money, so they couldn't even stay in a hotel or rent an apartment if they didn't have the money to pay for it. They tried to look for jobs in various parts of the city, and in all of these they were sent flying out the door, saying that they didn't want anything to do with them and their lying children, so they had no choice but to live in an abandoned warehouse while they thought about what they could do. At first they tried to ask the factions for help, but they refused or responded that they couldn't help them, since apparently someone stole a large part of the fortunes of the multiple houses of the underworld, in addition to the other factions, so they were short of resources, and that they had no time for themselves now. As for the factions, well, they were much worse. After seeing not only what was transmitted in the meeting but in all the factions, there were many scandals about the supposed pillars of the alliance, after seeing that they were damn liars and total frauds. But there was more impact to know that they belittled and harmed the brown-haired, in addition to seeing how they killed him. Many children were very upset and sad to see how their supposed idols turned out to be very bad people, and without understanding for others, and only cried to remember how they treated their true hero. All the other inhabitants of the various factions demanded the resignation of the leaders for being damned and forgetting that even they were involved in this problem. The leaders really didn't know what to do. They had so many problems, as if an avalanche had fallen on them for everything that had happened. The problems with the Chaos Brigade. The issue of the supernatural hunter, and now it turns out that they were deceived under their noses after seeing the lies of both ex-Hyoudou brothers, such as knowing that Issei was innocent of what was said and accused of him, in addition to having their riches and other resources stolen. They were at a very notable critical point. They did not know what to solve first or how to handle this. They really screwed everyone up, but they screwed our protagonist more, who was now who knows where or how he was, if alive or dead, but most likely for them, and was that he would have died because of the attacks that generated things that did not make them feel good at all. They really are complete garbage. They could have done something, but they got carried away by the words of those two, and all because they had power and Issei did not. This made everyone feel quite bad for the boy, and blame themselves for all the bad decisions they made with he. The girls were in a more deplorable state. They locked themselves in their rooms, where each one only dedicated themselves to crying and cursing each other over and over again for everything they did to Issei, but more for how they rejected him, losing a real opportunity for a good man to truly love them for who they were, and not for their physique or riches. In addition to generating hatred towards Isaac and Isary for having believed so many things that were wrong about Issei, in addition to claiming in their faces that they, and especially Isaac, were the ones who had achieved those achievements and details for them, that only made them feel a lot of hatred towards them, added to the words that Isaac said about them. Those who were worse were Rina, Tsusaku, Venelana, Grafia, Sikvaria and Laisha, who went to that forest to recover the brown-haired man's body, but did not find it, leaving them more devastated, thinking that some wild animal took his body or ate it, retreating from the place even more devastated, completely ignoring the corpses rotten from the stray devils that were still there. So that all the girls, but especially Issei's ex-lovers, cried profusely and spent days without eating or leaving their bedrooms, where they only wanted to be able to fix things with Issei. The girls. Issei. Sniff. Please. Sniff. Forgive us. For everything we did. They said between cries without being able to stop. Isaac for his part was upset. Not upset, no, he was furious. Everything he had planned had now gone to shit. He lost everything he had, his fame, his reputation, his achievements, his recognition, his house, and now the entire world hated him completely. Everything he did to his brother was now charging him dearly. He could no longer go to school, and to top it off now he has to live in a warehouse like a vagabond. In fact, not even the vagabonds want him near him. Now everywhere he was seen with hatred and contempt. Those same looks were given to his brother, something that he did not like, since the one who should be hated was Issei and not him, in the words of the same person. Isary was upset with her partner because they had ruined her reputation as well, and part of being stripped of the Hyoudou family. A few minutes passed where she argued with Tiamat about why she did that, where she claims that it is because of her actions that led her to end up where she was. In addition to losing a good one who loved her very much, and that person was her brother, where he explains to her that despite everything she did to him, he never hated her and had always loved her. Thus showing her memories where Issei, despite what she did to him and how the brown-haired man treated her, appreciated her very much and wanted one day to be able to live in peace with his sister and thus be able to grow as a family, but she destroyed that after seeing that Isary was stunned and shocked by it. He always tried to get closer to her and be able to form family ties with her, but because of her pride and her stupid ego, she ruined it, causing her to break down in tears and fall to her knees. Isary. No. No. Issei, I don't. You. What have I done? Sniff. Sorry. Sniff. Forgive me. Oni-chan. She said while covering her face with her hands while tears ran down her face. This is how the whole world was falling apart. People in some places believe that karma does not exist, but when you least expect it, its power and the consequences it generates are so devastating that they cannot imagine. However, that was not enough for a brown-haired man with white locks, who was now about to make his move and wipe the city and its inhabitants off the face of the earth, along with everything supernatural. Time skip 1 month later. Right now everything was the same until they received a message from an unknown individual who requested a meeting where the name was not revealed, but it was an urgent matter regarding the Chaos Brigade. The truth is that they did not want to attend due to the problems they had now, but since it was about that organization they had to attend to it since they were causing them a lot of problems. Although strangely they have not witnessed any recent activity of the terrorist organization, which surprised them, but they decided to go at once, in addition to the fact that it said that they should invite the former Hyoudou to their further annoyance, but they did. While the city was just as condemned as ever, the authorities have found absolutely nothing about the brown-haired man. Some claim that he died, others that he was kidnapped, and others that he left the city among other things. However, in a building was Issei while he seemed to be next to a television antenna along with others that are apparently telephone and radio, where right now it seemed that he was hacking the signals without them, realizing in addition to the fact that there was a certain guest with him. A stranger who was tied up and looked all pulverized by our protagonist, who was a white-haired man with strange clothes that indicated he belonged to the devils, who had severe wounds with a lot of blood on his clothes, his face all broken, several of his bat wings torn off leaving 2 of them, but apparently broken, blood was coming out of his nose, forehead. His legs were broken where you can see that many bones were sticking out of them and were out of place, his hands were broken, which were unable to move or do anything. The guy was none other than Rias and Lucifer, leader and head of the now non-existent Chaos Brigade, which was eliminated by Issei, who had hunted them for the entire month that has been passing, and that would now be the day where the city of Kuo would disappear forever, and in the process the supernatural after it. Issei continued working on the antennas until he got it. Issei. Well, with this that's it, it's time for the show. He said, smiling and preparing for the broadcast. The meeting. Right now the faction leaders, DXD team, the Gremory, and the Citri Peerages, and to everyone's annoyance the former Hyoudou were at the meeting. Zeus. Well, why did they call us? I'm not in the mood to see them anymore because of what they've done, said the god, annoyed and upset. Tannen. Didn't you bite your tongue? You also treated us badly, boy, so don't come to us with those comments, said the Dragon King angrily, much to the anger of the god. Zeus. But you will be. He exclaimed, annoyed, wanting to launch himself towards the dragon, but was stopped by a commentary. Great Red. Enough. We didn't come here to fight, but to discuss the supposed Chaos Brigade that we were asked to join. I just hope it's not a waste of time. The dragon god commented seriously before a problem breaks out. Azazel. Speaking of which, who requested the meeting? The note I received didn't say who it was from. The fallen man pointed out, taking the piece of paper out of his pocket. Auden. I also received a note like the one from Azazel. It didn't say who it was from, but it requested that I and the others meet in the underworld. I thought it was something from Surziches, said the god, also taking out the same note. Surziches. But me and the others were given the same note. We did not send it since this arrived at our offices 5 days ago, said the Crimson Siskin. Michael. This is very strange. They give us all a note telling us to gather here, but why did they ask us all to come here to the room? But I wonder, why does one part of the note say to bring them? He said, pointing at the former Hyoudou. Rias. I have no idea, but I'm not interested in the least in what those two or more do here, she said, pointing at Isaac and Isary. Before anyone else could comment, someone sees what appears to be a holographic projector in the middle of the room. Asia. Hey, what's that? I pointed to the projector that was in the middle of everyone. Seeing him, Azazel approaches the projector and sees that it has a note that says, "Turn on the projector and enjoy the show," which confused many, and others only suggested that they turn it on, to which he only did, and suddenly a live recording is projected that was not only broadcast in the room, but in all factions apparently. People looked at the recording and only paid attention to what was going to be projected. In Kuo, people were walking and talking on the phone or were walking with very depressed faces because of all the events that have happened to the people of the city. In a corner were two girls wearing clothes that were the uniforms of the now closed Kuo Academy, which were very torn and dirty, where you could see that they hadn't had a bath for a long time. One of them seemed to have lost a shoe, and the other seemed to have had one of the sleeves of her shirt on the right side torn off. One had her left arm hurt and was carrying an improvised armrest that was very old, and the other had bandages on her legs and feet as a sign of having some pain in them. In addition to that, they showed signs of malnutrition, indicating that they hadn't eaten enough for 2 months now. They were Murayama and Caddis, who were now living as best they could in their street life, or the one they were able to enjoy until now. Murayama. And how do you feel, Caddis? She asked her pink-haired friend who was rubbing her feet. Caddis. Not good at all, my feet and legs hurt a lot, I'm very hungry and cold, really. I never thought we would end up like this because of us, seriously. We screwed up big time, our parents' lives, our lives and… Issei's. She said, starting to cry, remembering her ex-boyfriend. Murayama. Yes. We really did. It's funny, isn't it? We really were very stupid. We believed those two bastards, and especially Isaac, of what they said about him, when it was never true, and when we went out with him, it was only to be able to be close to Isaac, who we thought would be the love of our life, only to finally know that he never loved us, and that in his eyes we were just sex toys. But Issei never saw us like that, he gave us pure feelings towards us, and we never saw that, we didn't see beyond what they said about him. He even tried hard to make us happy during the time we were with him, he even gave us this. She said, revealing the necklace that the brown-haired boy gave them in the past, which was seen to be still intact and shiny in all its date. Caddis also took out her necklace that Issei gave her, it was in good condition, and very well cared for apparently. Both kept both gifts from the brown-haired boy, and took care of them with great longing. It was the only thing most precious that both had, and that kept them strong, since they had the hope that they could meet Issei to fix things, and be able to be together again, in addition to being the couples that they should have been for him from the beginning. Caddis. I hope we can find him and be with him again. She said, looking at her necklace with a sad look and trying to keep a smile. Murayama. That's what I want, I hope Issei is okay, even so, where could he be? She said sadly and worried about the brown-haired boy. Before anything else, his thoughts were interrupted by hearing screens going static, phones and electronic devices beeping in the same way, and radios also heard static. On both sides. Now it is seen that a recording began where a boy with a white hood is seen wearing a devil mask, causing many to be a little bewildered by the subject's presentation, and the mysterious man proceeds to speak. Greetings, my dear audience. First of all, I want to clarify for the human race that the man in front of you is not Mr. Nobody, no, in fact, if you are listening to this, I would like to thank you for doing what you did, revealing the biggest lie Kuo and the factions of the supernatural. He said, confusing the humans for the last thing, but making the factions open their eyes for it. Which was the lie about Isaac x Hyoudou and Isary x Hyoudou, as well as the innocence of Issei Hyoudou. The truth is that I did not expect such problems to be unleashed to everyone here and to the factions. At this moment you were wondering what the hell I am talking about with the factions. Well, let me reveal to you a small and tiny secret. You are not the only beings that excite on Earth. Why do I say this? That is because you should know that races like devils, angels, yokai, Argazdians, gods, dragons and among other mythologies are 100% real, all hidden in plain sight of you, and in case you do not believe me, I have some evidence that will surely leave you with your jaw on the floor, surely. He said to reveal photographs and videos showing the factions, supernatural beings and other mythologies, where they take shelter, where they live, the things they have done, and who are those who inhabit the multiple cities of the world, in addition to revealing the group of Rias, Sona and the ex Hyoudou as confirmed supernatural beings. No one said anything. This was very, very shocking information for everyone present, more for humans than for supernatural beings, knowing that all this time under their noses, they have been next to beings that have only been heard or narrated in stories and novels where they do not exist in real life, but here was the proof. But knowing that those frauds were supernatural beings with whom they have been living all this time, the former members of the Kuo Academy were even more shocked. They never believed that Rias, Sona and their groups were supernatural beings, but especially devils, which they absolutely did not know, but their impression was when it was revealed that the ex Hyoudou were also devils. The factions and leaders were shocked by what was happening. They were revealing their existence to the humans. This was a big problem. The leaders were wondering where the human got those videos and images from. Right now he only spread it to the city of Kuo, but if he spread it to the rest of the world they will be in big trouble, so much so that they will have to find a solution to all this. You didn't see it coming, did you? It's very funny to see the expression on your faces. When I was told about this I knew what to think or what to say, since after all, at that time, I was at the Kuo Academy. He said, revealing that he was a student at the Kuo Academy, which many were speechless about, and they wondered who was the boy. And how was he at the Kuo Academy? The leaders, upon hearing that, made faces of astonishment and were trying to find out who was the boy then. Since if he was a former student of the academy, they could find their records for him. Oops, I think I revealed an important fact about myself. My mistake, but the truth is that is why I do this. Well, actually, I do this broadcast not only to reveal to everyone the existence of the supernatural world to you, but also for other reasons. Reason number 1 is to tell a little about what this damned city caused. For years, for a long time now, I was seen as the black sheep of the family. My brother and my sister, whom at first I loved and tried to appreciate, treated me like the worst scum on earth. My so-called parents never supported me, because I was never what they were looking for in a son, someone remarkable, who was good at everything and who would become the greatest pride they could have wished for. To make my life even more miserable, they had slandered false news and aspects towards me, with the aim of me staying down while they went up stealing all my efforts. Because of that, I was denied the opportunity to make friends, form bonds, and to be able to achieve the happiness that I have longed for. In addition to that, due to his actions, he was considered throughout the city as the worst trash of all, as if he were a monster. The stranger told his life, making each word stick in their heads with force, since they remembered those events, and every time they thought about it more deeply, Issei came to mind, but they were not sure, since on the part of humans, it could be possible that that boy was Issei, but they could not be sure. But on the part of the supernatural, each thing he said had more coincidence, since those were the same events that Issei went through throughout his life. When I was 17, 2 high-class devils who lived in the city had become interested in me and my brothers, but I would say it was more in my brothers, since from what I saw they were born with a special power. But in my case, it had been confirmed to me that I had not been born with any remarkable gift that would make them change their point of view, but that at first did not stop me. I fought against people more powerful than any of them, just like you, but all my achievements were always snatched away from me by them, leaving me aside. I had fallen in love many times, not because I was a womanizer, do not think about that. No, let's say that I confessed with all possible sincerity to the most beautiful girls that I think I would be in my life. With the useless hope of being able to be happy, I declared myself to them, but they preferred my brother instead. Nobody appreciated me in the slightest anywhere in the supernatural, always seen as the villain of a poorly told story, as well as an unpleasant being. When I tell that part, all the women opened their eyes upon hearing that. There was only one person who had been put through that, so they only shed tears. You know what hurt me the most, what made me struggle the most and lose hope? That they, he said, now taking off his mask, revealing his identity to the audience, who was paralyzed with shock to see who the projection was. They betray me and kill me, he said, now revealing Issei's face. The public now felt that they would have an overload of emotions and intertwined thoughts, because there was that person they were looking for so much, that person to whom they caused so much harm. There he was, there was Issei. This caused the women to cry with joy and the men to feel happy, but that changed with the following event. Issei. By the way, the second reason why I do this is to give a message. A message to start your deaths, he said angrily, causing everyone to be surprised by that and by the tone of voice he used. I will be very clear, but the reason why I do this, so that the public of the supernatural as well as Kuo know that they have signed a death sentence with me. I endured everything you have done to me for years, all the abuse and comments towards me for more than 15 years, but that is over, he said, scaring and sounding nervous to everyone by how he expressed himself. Issei. You made me realize many things, and that is that people are bad, cruel, and in your case they do not know the concept of empathy. You made me realize that there are people who are born to keep all the love, the others, like me, do not receive anything. I tried to move forward, but what was happening? My hopes were destroyed because of you. No one wanted to get close to me. Everywhere I was rejected and thrown away. Because of you I never had the life I wanted to have. Everything was denied to me, and you made me feel a lot of pain. Well, what do you think? Now it's your turn to feel the same as I felt, despair and pain, said the boy in a creepy tone, to the fear of many seeing where all this was going. Issei. For the factions, I guess they most likely won't take my words seriously, but to confirm that what I said is true, let's say I bring someone special that you know. I had to give him a severe lesson about what happened when you put on a sleeve with me, but it doesn't matter, and for the human public I want to introduce you to my special guest. Say hello to the son of the morning star. Rizavam live in Lucifer, he said, showing Rizavam, who upon finally waking up and seeing Issei in front of him becomes very terrified. The factions were in shock upon seeing the descendant of the original Mao Lucifer, but when they saw how he was left, they wondered what Issei had done to him to end up like that. Issei. For the factions, the reason why you have not witnessed activity of the Chaos Brigade, the terrorist group that was causing several problems to you, the answer is very clear and is that I eliminated the organization and right now its leader is in a very deplorable state due to the fight he had against me, and I must say that I expected more from the descendant of the original Mao. The factions upon hearing that opened their eyes wide upon hearing that the Chaos Brigade was destroyed by him and that their leader was defeated in the most insignificant way possible and ended up in that state. However, on the human side, I had no idea what you meant by that. At that, Issei removes the bandage from his mouth and grabs him by the neck, only to see him with a dark smile. Issei, any last words? The boy asked. Rizivum. Monster. That's what he said just to see how. Issei pierced Rizivum's heart in a devastating way, ending his life. The audience had expressions of horror upon seeing. They saw how the brown-haired boy had killed someone in a blunt manner without mercy or fear. On both sides, they could not believe that the boy who was previously good and kind had killed the son of the morning star in the cruelest way possible. The people of the city did not know what to say. He really is not the same boy he once was. Now they feared for their lives because of the words he had directed towards them. The same was with the factions. They know it was not easy to finish off Rizivum, but he made him look like an insect in his hands. Issei. One less piece of trash and I hope you enjoy the next act because this is where I'm going to start. With my revenge, so the next act will be this one. He said just to see how he transformed into a monster in his first phase, leaving everyone surprised and terrified by them. The faction leaders felt the immense power of it, and it was abysmal. It could face almost all of them, and the others were frozen by its appearance. At that moment, Issei was seen charging an attack in his right fist that seemed to have enough energy to cause great destruction to one of his cities, which made him nervous and scared, wondering what he would do now. Issei. The first thing I'll do is eliminate my place of origin, Kuo. He said, causing the humans to become terrified by it. In fact, it won't take me long since. What you didn't realize is that I've been transmitting from the top of the tallest building in the city. What's more, let me show you, he said, going outside, revealing where he was and recording below the people who saw him. Said people looked up only to see Issei in his monster form, still with his fist ready to attack, causing everyone to back away in fear. Murayama and Cadis were also scared by what was happening. They were seeing their boyfriend turned into that, and he was ready to wipe the city off the map. Issei. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, inhabitants of Kuo. Before I say goodbye, I want you to know that after this I will go for the supernatural later. It will not be a problem for me, since I married the supernatural beings of the entire human world, along with those who were related to them. He said, causing the supernatural beings to open their eyes in shock at that, upon learning that he was the supernatural hunter who had committed all the murders against them. People seeing that just ran away as fast as they could when they saw what he was going to do. He wasn't going to back down. The only people who didn't move were Murayama and Cadis, who couldn't leave because they were shocked, and when they wanted to leave they heard Issei talking. Issei. Let it be clear to you all, everything I am is because of you. Since I was little no one wanted to help me or save me, that's why I'm not going to stop until you suffer my pain. He said, still with his camera, jumping off the building with the attack ready. Murayama and Cadis. Issei, wait. They shouted desperately. Issei. Cosmic monster god killing fist. He shouted his technique and then. Boom. An explosion was generated, destroying everything around. When it was over, the entire city was in ruins. Everything that was once Kuo was reduced to ashes and rubble. The people who lived there were wiped out in one attack, reduced to ashes and leaving not a single survivor in the entire area and beyond. Now we see Issei in his monster form, who remained in his attack position even more, but after seeing that the city was destroyed, he gets up and in his hands was still the video camera, somewhat damaged but still working, so he checks if it still works. The factions did not know what happened until. Issei. Well, there is still a video. Well, just look how beautiful the city looks now. He said, showing the factions the wasteland of destruction of Kuo, leaving everyone horrified by how a single attack destroyed everything. No one said anything. He literally destroyed an entire city with a single attack, and with the power he had, they thought it would be easy for him to destroy their factions, which was going to happen. Issei. Well, it's a shame, but the truth is they deserved it, at least for me. You know, if things had not developed as they happened, this would have had a different ending for everyone and for them, but unfortunately it was not like that, and I want to make it clear that from here on you are next on my list. You will all fall at my hand, not at the hand of Issei Hyoudou, no. But at the hands of Issei, the human monster. He said in a chilling tone that left more than one, including the gods, terrified. And you, Hyoudou, of all those present, you were the first to be eliminated. Goodbye and have a terrible day. He said to cut the recording, leaving the factions in absolute terror and without presence. 1 week later. After the destruction of Kuo, it was a week that everything was chaos. People were afraid to see that their hero wanted revenge against them, so that everyone was in critical condition. Issei began to attack the factions without quarter and without retreating. The factions were now in a fucking problem. Issei was now going against the entire supernatural. It was something that for many was absurd to be able to achieve, but Issei was achieving it. For a while now, Issei went from faction to faction exterminating the supernatural beings, leaving no survivors. The leaders and troops of the factions tried to stop him, but their efforts were useless. Thanks to the training he had and the skills he had acquired, he was able to kill the most powerful beings on Earth using their forms as well. The truth is that no one could defeat him, especially when he transformed into the cosmic terror. That form was one that would give everyone nightmares even if they were dead. First it was the Hindu faction, then the Egyptian, the Olympian, the dragons, the Akai, the Asgardians, the fallen angels and angels from heaven. Finally only the devils and dragon gods were missing. They tried to join forces, but the boy was more powerful than them together, even combining their forces with the dragon gods. He not only humiliated them in fist fights, but even stole their techniques and used them against them, making himself more powerful to absurd levels, so much so that he had left everyone unable to continue, but ending their lives. The leaders went against him with all their might, but he killed them like cockroaches, as well as the remaining gods of the already extinct mythologies. The girls tried to make him see reason, but in their words, he did not want to listen to the words of some stupid and worthless luts, because if they did not give him a chance with him, what made them think that he would make a difference with them? That only destroyed them and without a shred of a doubt ended their lives. The few leaders and their relatives went against him, but just as expected they were pulverized. Isaac tried to kill him, but what he didn't count on was that with an attack from Issei, he pierced him and took out a green sphere which was Drake who had been freed from Isaac thanks to him, so he told him to leave, and then they would meet up, which he accepted and left, leaving Isaac with a face of horror and saying his last words. "I curse you. For everything." After that he fell dead. The boy did to Isary just to do the same thing he did to his brother, by freeing Tiamat from her and leaving the brunette on the verge of death. He asked him to go somewhere else with Drake where they would talk later. Isary as last words only said, "Forgive me, Oni-chan," which only made her fall dead in Issei's hands. The boy now went alone to his parents who just knelt without resistance, and the boy asked, "Issei, last words?" He asked seeing both hiatus. "Garou, Mickey, forgive us, Issei," they said accepting their fate. With one move he splits them in half, killing them now. The devil faction had fallen, along with all who remained. When it was all over, everything was reduced to a lifeless dead wasteland, decorated with the corpses of the leaders and the remaining retinues, along with the girls and dragon gods who had died at their hands, added to the bodies of their former family. The supernatural had died completely, and Issei had gotten his revenge. Issei detransformed returning to normal, a little tired but already calm with everything that happened. "Issei, it's all over," he said looking at everything destroyed. "Garou, I know brother, I know," he said calmly from Issei's mind. "Issei, finally, my revenge is concluded," he said looking at the sky. "Garou, and now what are you going to do?" I asked the brown-haired boy. "Issei, go find a new home. And try to move forward," he said starting to walk. "Garou, did you take into account that your actions could have consequences?" he asked the boy. "Issei, yes, but whatever it is, I will face it head on and I am responsible for it," the protagonist's brother clarified. "Garou, I understand, if so, good luck brother, I hope nothing gets in your way, and you know maybe it would be good for you to see your grandfather, after all he was the one who decided to make a difference than the rest of the others," he said with a smile. "Issei, thanks Garou-chan, maybe I will do it, although I don't feel ready to see grandpa after all this, maybe later," he said as he left what was left of the underworld. "Garou, don't forget that you agreed to see those 3 dragons too," Garou reminded him. "Issei, I told them where we could meet so there are no problems," he said relaxed. From that day on, Issei Hyoudou the human monster had fulfilled his wish to take revenge on all the people and beings who had hurt him and whose souls now went to a wasteland very different from heaven or the underworld, where it is not known what will happen or what will be the fate of all of them. Somewhere unknown. The people who were killed by Issei, the leaders, the girls, Issei's former parents and former siblings and 2 girls from the academy, were now in a blank space where there was nothing beyond everything until they hear something. Well, I didn't expect this, it's been a while since I've seen new guests around here, especially the former faction leaders and other people who treated Issei badly," said an unknown entity that made an appearance at the place. Who was the mysterious entity? How did he know about them, the factions? And how does he know about Issei? Find out in the next part.